In terms of maintenance, there's some things that you'll need to do on a daily basis, some every couple of days, other things you'll need to do on a weekly basis, and some things you'll need to do around every month and a half, every 2 months, that sort of time frame. The main aim of the maintenance is to keep the system clean. What are you cleaning from the system? Two things mainly. Powder, excess powder. You don't want to get into things like the electronics on the screen or the electronics cabinet inside the machine. So try and keep the excess powder to an absolute minimum. And the second thing you're mainly trying to clean from the system is glycol oil. Glycol oil is a byproduct of the DTF process. Once the powder is cured and the smoke evaporates off that powder, that smoke condenses into an oil. That's the glycol. So it's a byproduct given off from the curing of the DTF powder. You want to keep that to a minimum in the machine. Now, there is a drain tap in the machine, which I'll show you in a second, so you can drain it away from the machine. But one of the most critical things that you can do is to try and stop the buildup of that glycol. The machine has inbuilt filtration. It's got a filtration door where the smoke is filtered through and allowed back into the atmosphere. There's filters in that door, and there's extraction fans pulling away that smoke from inside the unit. The most critical thing you can do to avoid the buildup of the glycol is to allow that filtration door and the fans within it to stay powered on for around 30 minutes after use. If you switch it off straight after use, the smoke and the evaporation of that cured powder can condense and become glycol oil. To minimise that, allow the filtration door and allow the fans within that filtration door to stay on for that time frame to extract that smoke before switching the system off. 30 minutes ideally is the time frame you want to do that. The way to allow that to happen is to ensure that the heat function and your desired set temperature on the system stays active for that 30 minutes. And because you've got the heat function activated, it's good practice to keep the feed function activated with the vacuum roller and the belt turning. As already mentioned, there is a drain tap to drain away the oil that gets built up within the side of the system, in the side of the door. To access the drain tap, you want to open the extraction door. So, to do that, unscrew the thumb screw, and you can pull the door open. Now, this is the drain tap here, the tube and the tap here. The tap is the red tap on the end of it. You can do this in one of two ways. You can either leave the tap closed, which is where the tap is horizontal to the tube, and simply open this every couple of days or so into a bottle or a bucket of some description to drain away the excess oil. Or you can do as we do, and we simply place a tray underneath and leave the tap open, where the tap is vertical, parallel to the tube, and we leave that tap inside a tray so oil can come out as and when it gets built up. And we simply then need to keep an eye on the tray to make sure not too much oil is built up into there so it spills over. On a weekly basis, you'll need to clean away the condensation and glycol oil built up within the oven hood. Before you open that, open your extraction door so that this doesn't scratch on the side of the door as it's lifted. As before, open the thumb screw on the extraction door and pull the extraction door open. If you have got the waste tube, oil tube open, the tap on that open, make sure that the tray that you have underneath that comes with it. Once your extraction door is open, you can lift the oven hood using the handle like so. Now, a quick health and safety warning, don't do this unless you have allowed the system to cool sufficiently for around 30 minutes or so. Once you've allowed the system to cool sufficiently, your extraction door is open and your oven hood is lifted, use a cloth or some blue roll and a degreasing spray to clean inside the oven hood. The areas you want to clean are every accessible metal panel. There's two areas that are really critical, and that is the trough area at the back, just underneath. You sort of have to hook over to clean out the excess oil from in there, and the same at the front trough area, so hook back on yourself to clean out inside there. Use some degreasing spray and your cloth and wipe down all of the areas inside. As I say, paying particular attention to those areas, but you are cleaning out every accessible metal panel that you possibly can. And do this on a weekly basis. Part of how the filtration system works is there are extraction fans in the extraction door and there are filters in the extraction door. As you would anticipate, as part of a regular maintenance process, those filters will need to be replaced. How frequently they get replaced, it depends on the frequency of use. So for heavy use, these two filters will need to be replaced every month and a half. For light use of the systems, these two filters will need to be replaced every 3 months or so. To access those filters, you will need a Phillips head screwdriver and you'll need to open the extraction door. So, as with previous attempts at opening the extraction door, there is a thumb screw on the side which will need to be loosened. Then you can pull the door open. Again, if you leave your drain tap open and drain tube open to drain into a tray, just bring the tray with that tap because you don't want to end up with oil building up on the floor. Once the extraction door is open, you'll use your Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 6 screws around the outside of this panel here. 3 at the bottom, 3 at the top. Once the panel has been removed, you can pull the bracket that holds the 2 filters out of the system. There are 2 tabs on either side. Pop your thumbs at the top and pull towards yourself, and that will release the bracket. There are 2 filters within the system, a HEPA filter and a carbon filter. The carbon filter goes on the bottom, the HEPA filter goes on the top. To replace them, however, you'll want to put the bracket in the system first. There are 3 hooks either side of the bracket. Locate the 3 slots, locator slots, that those hooks will need to hook into. And push that back towards the other side of the door to fit it securely. The carbon filter sits in first. Just hold the bracket because you don't want to knock it off the slots while you're putting it in. And then the HEPA filter goes in just above. Now, at this point, it should be tight and you should struggle at this stage. Hold the bracket so it doesn't fall off and knock the filters so that they're in securely. Once you've done that, replace the panel on the outside with the foam on the inside of the panel resting up against your filters. Once the panel's reseated, close your extraction door and tighten your thumb screw.